Also reached Elizabeth Wydra, president of the Constitutional Accountability Center and a U.S. Supreme Court litigator. She is in Washington. Thank you, Elizabeth, for joining us. So what is your take on this draft? What do you make of it, and what is it implying?
Well, it's really extraordinary the way that the draft opinion completely obliterates the right to abortion, expressly overturning Roe versus Wade. This would be, seismic is definitely the right word for it, a seismic shift in the meaning of fundamental rights across the entire United States of America. The Constitution unquestionably protects the right to equal treatment, protects liberty, and rooted in that idea of equality and liberty and human dignity is the right to choose whether, when, with whom to have a family. The right to abortion is deeply rooted in the Constitution's protections. And Roe versus Wade recognized that, and that has been the law of the land reaffirmed over and over again by the Supreme Court. So this dramatic shift, overturning Roe versus Wade and repudiating that constitutional guarantee of reproductive autonomy and choice and equality and liberty, that would be a massive, dramatic change that has little grounding in the law and goes against what the majority of Americans know to be true, which is that you cannot truly be free or you cannot truly be treated equally in this country if you do not have the ability to make that choice, that most important fundamental choice for yourself.
Given that so many states already restrict access to abortion, what does this mean on that level? Does this lead to a potentially full bans and other states potentially banning abortions or severely restricting abortions?
Absolutely. We're already seeing some states put in extreme measures banning abortions after 6 weeks, and that's even with Roe still being on the books. So if the court were to explicitly overturn Roe, which is what this draft opinion does, I think we can absolutely see states move to completely ban abortions. And then we'd end up with a patchwork of abortion laws across the country, with some states allowing and protecting abortion access and other states completely banning it. And they could go as far as to try to criminalize traveling out of state to access abortion in one of those states that protect that fundamental right. And this is not the way that fundamental rights are supposed to work. You know, fundamental rights are protected in the U.S. Constitution so that they aren't put up to a vote by the state, so that they don't depend on where you live, your zip code, your means to travel to another state. They're supposed to be fundamental rights for, they're fundamental rights and protected like fundamental rights for a reason. And that is that it's an irreducible minimum of what it means to be a free and equal citizen in the United States, that you have this liberty. And when the Supreme Court acts to allow states to infringe those rights for some, that just goes against what the Constitution is supposed to stand for when it comes to fundamental rights like this. And again, we could see the consequences fall most harshly on the poor and the marginalized, who might not have the means to travel out of state, take time off, go and access abortion in the states that will allow it. And those are the real life consequences of the Supreme Court decision, draft decision, that is also outrageously wrong on the law.
So what could it mean for those most vulnerable who, as you say, don't have the means or are just not able to travel out of state, or it could become criminal to travel out of state? What will it mean for those women?
You know, abortions will always happen, and the question is whether they will be safe and accessible, and whether they will be available to all, not just the wealthy, but to the poor as well. Decisions like this are really about who can access abortion, because we know that abortions will continue to happen. And so it's deeply concerning the ways in which the inequity of this decision could play out in the real lives of millions of Americans.
An investigation ordered by Chief Justice John Roberts is being initiated because he called it an egregious breach that undermined the integrity of our operations. So because it was leaked, this draft was leaked. What do you make of that part of the story?
it certainly is unprecedented for a full draft Supreme Court opinion to be leaked like this. That happens in other institutions. It generally does not happen in the Supreme Court. But I think it's impossible to divorce the shock of the leak from the content of what's in the leaked opinion. If this were a kind of run-of-the-mill bankruptcy law case, for example, that was leaked, I doubt there would be this level of outcry. And the concern for the public confidence in the court comes really from the majority in this draft opinion taking away this fundamental right to abortion. It isn't really because the public is going to, lose its trust in the private deliberations of the justices being perfectly sacrosanct. It's about what is in the opinion, not so much the leak. But the fact that it was leaked is really extraordinary, matched perhaps only by what the extraordinary language of the draft opinion contains.
Elizabeth, appreciate your insight very much. Thank you. That is Elizabeth Wydra, president of the Constitutional Accountability Center, joining us live in Washington.